Okay, welcome to Life and Recovery Podcast. My name is Mark. Um, Today we have, who are you, Elise?
I'm Elise. Hi.
Hi. And Theresa, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Theresa.
Very informal. Um, so it's a podcast that has to do with anything in life and recovery. So we have somebody today who has a lifetime to others of experience in this category. And before we got going, we were talking a little bit about some topics that are pretty interesting to me. So, Teresa, how long have you been in recovery?
Well, I've been clean for 45 years.
45 years. Okay.
Yes.
Which I remember when I would hear that from when I first came in, I was just like, holy, it was an inconceivable amount of time. And I didn't know how to wrap my head around it. So, um, what's it like having that? I mean, that's literally a lifetime worth of
Well,
recovery.
it's like I just realized too, I probably when I got clean, there was nobody that had 45 years clean. Maybe in the other program, but not, I don't believe in NA, but and I was 18 when I got clean. Um and like we were talking before this started, it's like I was saying, it's aging happens while you're staying clean. Well, even if you're not, if you're alive, but those two coincide, aging and clean time. And if I've been clean a long time and now I'm 64 years old. And so there's benefits of long time recovery and aging where you don't care so much about the things that used to, like, I don't care so much about the things that used to just plague me. So I'm not plagued by crap so much
Give me an
anymore.
example, like what? What do you mean? What used to plague you?
Well, like we are talking about like how I looked.
Mhm.
And I mean, now that hasn't completely gone away. I wish it would. I took a shower before I, like a half hour ago or whatever. I was, you know,
Yeah.
um, and put makeup on and stuff. I really hope that someday that doesn't matter to me, that part of it. But um, but other things like um I don't even know. Sometimes things go away from my life and I don't realize they did, and then I don't remember what was there, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like working like the seventh step, like character defects. Things have been removed and I don't remember what's been removed. I'm just grateful that I feel pretty free and good in my skin
And then
today.
not there anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was talking with somebody the other day how we all come in looking, how we try to, if you're a male or female, you all try, guys walk in all puffy and trying to look like they got the coolest motorcycle, or the leather coat or whatever, and girls come in mini skirts and, you know, you know, boobs pushing on the top of their turtleneck and just,
Yeah. Top of
feeling,
the Yeah, and that's a reflection
feeling,
of when I got in here, I certainly had low self-esteem,
yeah.
minus self-esteem, and just doing what I could to look like I didn't have wasn't that way. Because
Yeah, then my outsides, if they look good enough, then you're not going to see how I feel on the inside.
yeah,
You know,
which
it's
is the opposite of what really happens.
yeah,
You
totally.
know?
Because then I come in here and then I got to deal with the insides. So, you were also mentioning that that's kind of, obviously I can't speak to this because I don't have that period of time, but the isolation or that it was isolating, or there's a different standard that people are holding. Is that what you're?
Yeah, there's yeah, we were talking about how I was saying clean time is a weird status, you know, and that when you have a lot, people talk about being afraid of even sharing in front of people that have a lot of clean time. And it doesn't, it's just a weird status. I enjoy it though, to tell you the truth, but I don't want it to hold so much sway as it does. And that I also don't want to be held to a higher standard just because I've been clean for 45 years. I mean, I like I was saying, there's people that have been clean for a long time and haven't worked steps or done any work on themselves. They're just clean.
Yeah.
And some of them aren't very nice people to other people, you know?
Mhm.
And so I don't, it's just a weird thing. We get to do what we want with our recovery. And like I was saying, I have availed myself completely to what's been available here as far as just healing, you know. And I was telling Ron the other day that um there's people that just, I understand they have a lot of trauma and are afraid to look at it. And I have had a lot of trauma. I have complex PTSD, and I just wanted to get it off of me. And the steps was the beginning of that for me. And when I started seeing more and more what was available, and then beyond the steps, you know, going to therapy and stuff, and doing like physical stuff like working out and yoga and eating well and all the kind of stuff that's available, I just grabbed a hold of it all, you
Was
know.
there any one thing, or was it a combination of?
It's a combination. And you know, our disease affects us in every area of our life, body, mind, and spirit. And I've taken that on in my recovery, you know, like physically, being physically fit, although I haven't been able to in a while, but I'm going back to the gym March 1st, but because I've had a thyroid issue
Mhm.
and a lot of fatigue. Eating well, eating healthily,
Mhm.
um, not indulging in my addictions. Like one of them is sugar. I haven't had sugar in years. And you know, and this isn't all because I'm perfect or anything. I just am overly sensitive to stuff. And I try to take away from me or go towards something that's better for me. I just want to feel good. So and I don't mean good in a way that a rat in a cage hitting that button to get what's coming to him. I don't mean that kind of good. I mean the kind that takes time and you build it up and it becomes who you are. And in recovery in life, you know, like I don't know, trying to reach some kind of potential, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. If you as you look back over that length of time, if you had to pick your top three things that were just absolutely foundational, couldn't have done it without it, items, what would they be?
Um, well, one is staying clean, of course,
Yeah.
because you can't do anything else otherwise. The other one is prayer meditation, a daily practice. I've had that since I was 15 years clean, so 30 years I've been doing that, mostly daily. That and probably sponsoring people. That's my service, is being a sponsor. I've tried all the other kinds of service. Some of them I'm not very good at, and but I'm pretty good at being a sponsor. So, and I get a lot from doing that. But that's really helped me. It's helped me in a way that there's times, you know, working the steps that it is scary to dive into them one more time. And I've got people working them with me, and I see the courage that it takes to come to me. Some of them barely know me because they're new to me, and I'm new to them, and they just do it anyway. And that right there has really made a difference in my recovery.
So you talked about, and Annalise, probably speak up, whatever. I'm trying to take over this conversation, but you keep saying things I'm curious about. So you started prayer and meditation at 15 years.
Yeah.
So two questions. What prompted the change at 15 years? And was it a hard transition, or was it just like I super struggled with, like I remember going to, there's a meeting in town where they meditate for 10 minutes, and it was like I'd rather have my toenails pulled off than sit there for 10 minutes like that for a while. How did you start doing it?
Well, I had attempted it off and on through the years, and I would get going on it. And I don't know, maybe part of, I grew up Catholic and I'm not a Catholic anymore. And I'm not even mad that I was anymore. I was for a time. And I, would be one of those people where I'd call myself a recovering Catholic. I'm just not, simply not Catholic.
Mhm.
But I did learn some things from being Catholic. And one of them, I never really thought about that till now, is sitting quietly in church. When there's times during church where, like, after there's, I think maybe the sermon and some other times where the priest just goes and sits down and we just sit, you
Mhm.
know, and, um, and then there's the thing about ritual. So, which I really like, which to me signifies the beginning of this. Okay, this is what I'm here right now to sit. And so I do it right here is my altar. I light a candle and an incense. Incense is part of church there too, and candles. And that's like the beginning. And when I blow the candle out, that's the end. It's over, And so it's in a container almost. And so I would do this off and on throughout the years, and I'd find myself up against the wall, just not feeling good and things not working out and couldn't understand what's going on. And then I think about it and went, oh, I stopped praying and meditating. That's what happened. It was that simple. So I tried again, right? So when I had 15 years clean, I had quit my job. I was a paralegal, which I wasn't very good at. There's no creativity in that. You can't even dress creatively.
Yeah.
And so it was killing me, killing my soul. And I'm not a 9 to 5er. Oh my God. That's ugh. But anyway, I quit my job because I had had a conversation with Ron about this article I read that when a couple are both working and they have kids, usually the woman, this is a couple of a man and a woman, the woman is making less than the man, and that money's probably going towards daycare or, like that, towards the upkeep of the kids. And it's like, so what's the point? What's the point of me going out there every day and spending more time at work and being afraid to call in sick because I might lose my job and all this crap? And so we decided I was going to quit and stay home with the kids. Well, I thought, well, I'm a mom. I know how to do this. Well, it turns out I didn't.
Mhm.
And it was chaotic, very chaotic at first. And so finally Ron comes to me and he goes, we need to talk. And when your person tells you that, it's, like my heart dropped down to my stomach, like, oh no, I'm in trouble. And
Yeah.
we go in the bedroom and sit on the bed and he goes, I don't know what else he said, but I remember him saying, you really need to do something about yourself. And here's in our relationship, the thing that has worked the most is we stay out of each other's program. We don't say, you need to call your sponsor, you need to go to a meeting, are you working any steps? Nothing like it. We don't do any of that. And so
Why
for him to
not?
do this, pulled me up short. And like I paid attention to what he was saying because it took a lot of courage for him to do that. And so I took a look at my life and I once again had dropped the ball on prayer meditation. And I realized at that point I never, ever, ever, ever need to drop the ball. And I haven't since.
How much
So
do you meditate every day?
um I don't know. Sometimes it's only a few minutes, sometimes it might be 10, you
So
know.
there's no standard.
No, there's a standard sort of format, I come in here and I light the candle and I um burn, I light the incense and I sit down over here. I don't sit on the floor. I'm 64 for Christ's sake. And I sit in this chair and it's informal, I drink my coffee and I eat my protein bar that I eat for breakfast and I write in my journal. And that's like a 10th step right there. And
So it's
then
more just like a quiet space. It's not like,
yeah, I'm just sitting there and I'm writing my journal. And then I read this meditation for the day that comes as an email. And I read that. And then I read from this other book I'm reading. I'll read a short chapter there. And then I sit and then I pray and then I sit and meditate for a while. And then I end it. I always do like a sort of prayer for protection because I learned that if I don't close it off like that, I have a weird day. Like I've opened myself up during this time and I need to close myself back down. And then I blow the candle out and I go about my business. But the incense, there's memory and smell and scent. And when I smell that, I'll walk by like on my way to the bathroom and I smell that still, even though it's not burning anymore. It's like, oh yeah, I meditated. Oh yeah, I prayed. Like it's still with me. And then prayer is so, it's really something for me. It's like, I feel like my relationship with my higher power is really, really strong and I call upon it as often as I need to. And then later on during the day, something happens and I might have prayed for something. It's usually like, please help me to quit thinking about this or whatever, or to be loving and kind or something like that. And then somewhere along the way in the day, I go, oh, thank you, because it happened. And so I'm connected all the time. And I feel like that's because I put the time in on this relationship, and it's not that tough to stay connected. It's a habit. It's a relationship.
So question, because I actually was a huge struggle for me when I came into the program, is what do you suggest if you don't know what a higher power is? What do you do if you just don't know how to, you talked about it as you cultivate that relationship, right?
Yeah. Well,
How do you build the relationship if you don't have a starting line?
well, my first higher power was NA itself.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Sometimes I will talk to someone about, I'll ask them if they pray, because I don't want to step on any toes, because some people don't want to because they're mad about it or something.
Mhm.
And or if they have higher power. And a lot of people say I would pray, but I don't know what to pray to. And I say, I don't know if you need to pray to anything. I suggest you just put some prayers out there and stay open to an answer through somewhere along the way in the day. You might see something happen. And if that happens, do it again. Um, I don't know. When you first asked that, I could feel like one thing that's happened to me in my recovery is with the prayer and meditation, I've built up some really good intuition, and I rely on that all the time. And those two things kind of, higher power and intuition, they're separate, but I don't know, along the same lines maybe.
Mhm.
But intuition's like a channel to me, for me. And it's something that I really pay attention to. Like I will turn my attention towards it when I need to. And if I don't know what to do about something, or even what do I want to eat, I use my intuition for eating. Because um yeah, and it never steers me wrong ever.
Yeah, there's a place in one of the books that talks, one of the literature in it that talks about, addicts have great impulses and or great instincts and horrible impulses.
Yeah, yeah,
So we'll go through, and it's kind of like following your best, your best sense of what should be instead of what you think is.
yeah.
Um, Elise, what do you, I feel like I keep asking all the questions in here, but see things going through your head. You got any thoughts on any of this?
I just feel like Teresa's my spirit animal. I feel like she says all the things that like I'm like, yep, that's what helps me. Yep, that's what I tried. Yep, that's how I got there. Yep. So I'm trying to think of like what else to include. And I do like I find it difficult when people do ask like the I don't know, I think it's just the logic mind of the human to try and be like, you do these things, you will get this, like A plus B equals C. And like spirituality is not so concrete, but there are like concrete things I've done to move forward. Like I like the like NA being a higher power at first, that was true for me as well. And um I feel like my connection with higher power has like I've made more and more room for what I want and for how I want to connect and what it's the more I get rid of the baggage, like if when I am like when I was like 90 days clean, like all I was focused on was like I need help to not use, to not go back to using. And like my sponsor and the people that I'd met in NA, that was my higher power. And like somebody was like told me like drugs and alcohol were your higher power because you dedicated everything to them and they ruled your life and you just need to find a new one. Like you've always had one, but it didn't treat you very well. You need a new one. And so anytime I saw anything that seemed to like work well and be um it going in a good direction, um I would just follow that. And so I had all these little like I didn't know what higher power was, but I had all these bits and pieces and I knew just follow that and just trust in that and then like over time, like now I do have and I like what you were saying, Theresa, about ritual. Like I love when people like remind me rituals in the word spiritual. Like it doesn't really matter how you do it, but it has to be a thing you do regularly. Like you were talking about, like how important that is. Like if it's not a regular thing, doesn't matter if it was 5 minutes or
Mhm.
20, as long as it was there and it happened. And I feel like that's also true for me. How I have done it has changed, but the most benefits I've gotten is from whatever I was doing every morning. For me, morning is what works.
Mhm.
But yeah.
That's no, I appreciate I like what you were talking about that, when I thought about meditation, it had to be this homes and like you sit there and you float off a pillow or something. And yours didn't sound like that at all. It's like, I light a candle, I create, some
No.
incense, I journal,
Yeah.
I
In
got a cup
fact,
of coffee.
meditation, like you were talking about, can be really uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And I've learned to not make things uncomfortable, to make them comfortable and to work for me. Say that's like at the gym too. Um, I won't if I work out too hard, I'm not going to want to come back the
Yeah.
next day. I'll be in pain, right? So I do whatever I can to go there and just be comfortable. Once I get in the door, that's 100% better than sitting on my couch, right? So that
Mhm.
right there is good enough.
Yeah.
And and then to do whatever else comes up. I don't have to work out that hard. I'll have some days where I do and some days I don't. I don't put any pressure on me that way. And I've really um, good enough is a spiritual principle, I think, right? It's my favorite
Yeah.
because I have been such a perfectionist and have not done things because I can't do it perfectly. So why do it at all? And that kind of stuff. I've learned that good enough is just an easier, softer way to be,
Yeah.
and works for me. There's things that I want to do. Um, I don't know. I just need to be able to do them good enough.
Yeah. I was thinking about what you were talking about, how people kind of place you on a pedestal and there's a lot of benefits to having a lot of time clean, I would imagine. I mean, I'm nowhere near as much as you, but life gets easier, things get better. I don't struggle the way I used to. The problems change or transform, but what's so there's a lot of benefits to probably having that period of time. What's the downsides?
Of having a lot of clean time?
Yeah. I mean, I think other people think it's just Zen perfect, like everything gets glorious. What's the downside? Is it, or is there one?
I don't, I can't think of any. I have a rainbow on I have rainbows on my,
Oh,
I
nice.
love
I
it.
love
Prism.
rainbows
I like
or
it.
sparkly things. No, it's on
You
my
get
mirror.
rainbows. You get rainbows in your life when you have that much time.
Yeah.
It's just follow you around. That's amazing.
I don't, I don't know what
I mean, do the struggles change would be a better thing? Like, I know everything's not,
I don't
all
know.
the time.
I mean, like sometimes if I'm going to a meeting, I might be nervous about walking in the door. That doesn't have to do with clean time though, but
What makes you nervous about meetings at this? I would think that would be.
I don't know. Some days I don't feel like I want to hug anybody, you know?
Mhm.
And I mean, I've been that way forever, but I mean, that's just who I am. And or certain people, and then I got to deal with it, and just that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, like there's some people that like I've had to tell, well, two men in recovery, you don't get to hug me anymore. Um, and there's and then I don't know, there's just some interactions I don't want to have with some people, you
Yeah.
know. Um, Sometimes the thing that I think that I struggle with the most is judging other people. And if I'm in that frame of mind, it's hard to walk in the door of a meeting and then because there's certain people I judge more than others, and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to talk to that person. Please don't come up to me. Please don't
Mhm.
hug me. And I don't feel good about that,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I have boundaries, and there are judgment or not, there are some people that I don't have to talk to. I can, I guess those are people, I try to meet everyone where they're at. And so if someone is sort of not really, don't want to go very deep in a conversation, I don't, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't even remember what you asked now.
No, that's fine. So I was just asking. So I asked what kind of like what's
Oh, downside.
the downside to having a period of
Yeah.
time, but
I don't know, but
what's
I understand that I have a privileged life. So there's things that I don't have to deal with that other people do, we Ron's retired. I have nothing to retire from, but I mean we're able to travel and stuff like that
yeah.
and
What's the best? Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. What's the best part of having that period of like a long period of clean time?
is my demons are not clawing at me anymore like they used to. And they haven't in a while. That doesn't mean they won't,
Mhm.
but I'll deal with that when it happens. But I feel like I'm in a place and I don't even know what a while means. I can't even think of how long it's been. I could look back in my journal. That's one reason I journal also is to see how I'm doing because I can not be doing very well or not be feeling very good on the inside and think I haven't felt good in a week, and then I look on in my journal, it's been 2 days,
Hmm.
Yeah.
or feel really good. And then I feel like, oh, this is going to be like for the rest of my life. Now I'm going to feel so good all the time and setting myself up, and, but I don't know. I know that I'm privileged just even by the color of my skin. I'm privileged. I get that.
Yeah.
And, but I don't have my childhood demons that have plagued me for all through my recovery clawing at me.
Yeah.
So what a relief, and That's one reason for doing steps. And then steps led me to other things, to spirituality, to reading books that have helped, to doing different kinds of therapy, you know. Always, I've always been willing, maybe not like right away, but at some point I get to the point where I like am willing to look at the ugly stuff one more time and
Yeah.
admit things, you know, because it's scary, you know, but I know today that I have a lot of courage because I've had to do a lot of work.
Is that where, so I'm actually looking around your room, that you have a lot of creativity around
Yeah.
you? I mean, I see paints and, all of your artwork that you do. How big of a part of your recovery is that? What
Well, it's kind of a painful part,
do
actually.
you mean?
Well, I just started working on something again today, but it's been probably weeks and I've gone months not doing artwork because that's the part where the good enough hasn't quite sunk in yet,
Yeah.
you know? And I go through this stuff where, you know, I never went to school for it. Who do I think I am? You know, just stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I was showing my daughter-in-law a picture of a pastel painting that I did, and it's beautiful. And it was years ago. And I'm like, that was really good to see because I'll do a piece of work or I'll be working on something. And then that, you know, that saying, familiarity breeds contempt. That's how I get with my artwork. Like I'm
Yeah.
so close to it and everything. And I'm like, oh, yuck. And then I go away and I'll put it away and I'll pull it out and go, there's nothing wrong with it. It looks really
Yeah.
good. I can't believe I did that, you know? But it's been painful. I remember when I was in treatment and I wanted to start drawing again, and I was afraid to because any artwork I ever did, I was loaded doing it. And so I didn't think I could do it um, clean. And I did something and I was able to, but boy, I don't know. That's where I really lack confidence. That's a painful part for me. You
With
know,
the artwork?
yeah, I know that I'm creative because you can
Mhm.
look all over my house and there's even my yard, everything, you know, everything I touch in my house and everything looks really nice. Really, it's all
Mhm.
creative. It's not your typical regular house. Every wall in our living room is a different color. You know, I like color, you know, just stuff like that. But I don't know. When it comes to doing things, I don't know. I love buying art materials and there's some kind of hope in that, you know, that I'm actually going to use them. And then I have so much stuff to make art with that I'm afraid I'll use them up, you know, like I have so much.
Then you get to go
Oh,
shopping
I
again.
better not use that. It'll be gone, you know, like there's some kind of a limit or something,
That's
you
funny.
know. So that's the one thing before I die that I want to get over, that I want to be a up to my elbows painting kind of artist, you know, and go to a meeting with paint all over me and
Covered
not
in
care.
paint.
Yeah, you know,
What
like
holds you back?
I
What's,
I'm not really clear. And that's something I pray about a lot and I don't
I
seem
mean,
to.
I've seen your art. It's really good.
Thanks. The hard part is coming up with ideas of something to
Mhm.
do. And then I was just sitting here today and I was starting something because one thing I want to do is I've been making these little shrines. Like I can show you one right here. I made that.
Oh, wow.
So
Right.
this is
That's amazing.
air dry clay. I made
Yeah.
those, you know, did all that. And it's just a box. I
Mhm.
even made the back look pretty. And and so those are the things right now I want to make rather than painting. I'm doing these things. And so I started working on one and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't. And then I just kept on going and going. And then it started feeling, oh yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
like this. I
So,
like this.
so I'm looking forward to getting back to that. I think it's more of if I could do something like I do with my prayer meditation where it's a regular thing, like showing up for a job. I've heard that. I read one time about writers, like this one woman, she wrote a book called Writing Down the Bones.
Mhm.
She says that if you show up to your writing every day, like it's a job, and whether you write or not, at some point your brain is going to know this is what you're here for, and you'll start doing it.
Yeah.
So,
I heard this guy talking about he was giving writers shit for having writer's block. He's like, that's fake. Have you ever heard of plumber's block? Plumbers don't go to work and get plumber's block. It's kind of funny.
yeah, but plumbing isn't all that creative.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
I mean, at
It's,
times I would imagine, but
yeah, there's some crazy things. But yeah, the creative part of it, of doing that. So you mentioned earlier, I mean, when I was asking you the three things that stood out to you, one of them was sponsorship.
mhm.
Why? What, like, what do you get out of that? What's the benefit? I mean, you talked about it being one of the three most foundational things in recovery. How come?
Yeah. Well, one thing I get from it, a big thing is um, that I hope this doesn't sound grandiose, but when I'm sitting there with the sponsee and they're doing their steps or they're talking to me and trying to work something out, that's where my intuition comes in, and I feel like a channel,
Mhm.
like I'm being told what to say, and I just say it, and I'm amazed at and a lot of times, you've heard people share this where you say something that you needed to hear yourself,
Mhm.
you know, so that happens too. But I feel like I'm in a partnership at that point with my higher power, their higher power,
Mhm.
and I don't know, it's a sacred space, and I like that.
Okay. So for anybody who may not know, what is a sponsor to you? Can you give it a definition?
A sponsor,
Yeah. What is one? If nobody, there's somebody out there that's never heard any, doesn't know anything about it. What is a sponsor?
I like a life coach, really, it's like without the rah rah rah, maybe. I don't know. It's someone that first of all guides you through the steps, someone that has worked the steps themselves and knows about them, how they work, or
Okay.
and they're and knows that those that steps are magical, and that you're about to go through a magical process. And a sponsor is someone that you can call, um, hopefully before you do something that you shouldn't, but it's someone that you trust and that that you can tell them anything and they're not going to judge you. And they're not going to tell anybody else, that it's a super safe person in your life. Because
Okay.
like safety to me is a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have one at this stage of the game?
Do I what?
Do you have one at this stage of the game?
I don't.
Okay. What did
So
you get out of sponsorship when you were on the receiving end of that?
I got I got to work the steps and I had someone that I could talk to,
Okay.
And now, I mean, I'm not lacking in having someone to talk to.
Mhm.
I would like a sponsor though. I want one. I haven't had one in it's probably been 6 years. That's a
Okay.
long time. And I know that that's not the NA way, but it's just is what it is. I have had many sponsors, and the last one I had, it didn't end very well. I felt like she was condescending
Hmm.
with me in a time that was where I was kind of fragile,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do it anymore. And so I but I'm open. I would love to have a sponsor. I'm not going to take one just for the sake of having one. I'm not going to ask somebody just for the sake of having one. So,
Just finding one. Okay. Well, that's great. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk today. It's really interesting to look at the options and the things that's a different perspective and the lens for you know what it's like having doing the same thing that long.
yeah,
Is it basically come down to you've just been doing the same thing for that many more days?
the same thing.
Well, I mean, it's like I remember coming in and I would hear people like you that had these just mind-boggling periods of time. And I just thought they were so different than me.
Mm,
But the further I'm going along, what I'm starting to realize, I think that we're all very much the same. They've just been doing it. There's,
yeah,
they've just been doing the same thing that many more days. Just
yeah.
earlier start.
I think of it like this. When, like you go to, let's say Starbucks and you order your drink, and whether you're driving up to the deal or you're walking in, and all these people know what they're doing,
Hmm.
and they've been trained and they've been doing it for a while, and they're multitasking. It's like, no way could I do that.
Yeah.
But there is a point where I probably could if I go there and they show me the way and I start doing what they tell me to do and all that. Pretty soon I look pretty good making those drinks and multitasking. But really, I don't think I could ever do
Yeah.
that job. But really glad they do though, because I love Starbucks. But I don't know. It's like that when you look at somebody that really knows their job well.
Hmm.
It's they've been doing it for a while, every day, you know? And so when someone knows the program well and they look like they're doing things well, they've been doing it for every day. It's like a training, really.
More practice, essentially.
Yeah, it's practice.
Yeah. I've been doing the same things. So, well, cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. We always kind of look back at what thing that stood out to you in this conversation that was kind of important to you. Elise, what was it for you?
Um, I appreciated your vulnerability, Teresa, and like especially talking about creativity and like handling like blockages, maybe insecurity around it, because that's something that I struggle with. And so it helps me remember that I'm not alone, but also like that you have never given up. Like you'll take
Oh, yeah.
pauses or it'll go up and down, but then you'll come back to it and you'll come back to it in a different way, you know. And I'm finding like I think that's the most important part for me is and like I was reading this I have this book called like Ways of Seeking Joy, and it was on creativity today, and it was talking about how like the like almost like the more you try to find it, or like the more you're like I have to be creative, kind of like the more barriers you're putting in the way of allowing it to happen. Like it's more of an allowing than anything else. And I really like that. And I think that is what helps me is to remember like I'm allowed to kind of take this wave, you know, like there will be some days I do something more than others. There will be days you know, that like you were talking about having days where you feel good and you're like, oh, I don't want it to end. And then days where it's bad and it's always going to be this way. And like that those things happen, but you just keep going and it just, and like sort of, you know, just being able to ride the wave and that you get better at riding the wave the more you practice it.
Mhm. Yeah. Thanks for saying that about I haven't quit. 'Cause I mean, some of the stuff I'm in it, it doesn't even occur to me that, oh, I haven't quit, or, I haven't
Mhm.
stopped trying and stuff. That was good to hear. But yeah, and I know that I'm an artist, like I know I'm an addict. you know? Everything I read about being an artist and everything I read about being an addict, those are in my bones, you know?
Yeah.
And I know that. So it's hard to quit either of those.
I think
Or,
you can if it's part of your bones, it's in you.
yeah,
It's great. So yeah, I love the part where of you talking about that, the informality of your meditation practice. I like that. It takes a lot of pressure off, that there's a
yeah.
cup of
I
coffee and there's a
mean,
candle and there's a thing, and it's actually
yeah,
it's comfortable. It's
yep.
true. It doesn't have to be this rigid, formal, structured
And
thing.
yeah, because you're not going to want to come back. You know,
Yeah, I've noticed.
it's like going to meetings. It's more important to just go. Just go.
Yeah.
You know, it's more important at the gym. Just go. Don't worry about how it's going to turn out or anything. It's more important to get the habit down of showing up. Once you get that down, you got room to try shit out, move around, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
But
About
get in
it.
a habit. I love habits. I love ritual. Stuff like that. I like being on autopilot with things. I'm on autopilot with my prayer meditation that I sit and do it every day, but I'm not on autopilot while I'm doing it. I'm very much in it. I'm paying attention. It's not something that I have done so much that I don't even think about it. I'm thinking about it while I'm there.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit today. If this conversation was helpful to anybody out there, you can find it at Choice Recovery Path on YouTube and any other streaming service. But just wanted to say thanks. Really appreciate your time
Thanks.
today,
Thanks
Theresa.
for asking me.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks so much.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you
Thanks,
too.
Teresa.
Thanks.
Bye.
See
Bye.
you.
All information and other content supplied or communicated in or through this video is for general informational purposes only and does not or nor is intended to constitute legal or medical advice. Any viewer of this video should contact his or her own attorney, doctor, or other applicable advisor or practitioner to obtain legal, medical, or other applicable advice with respect to the accuracy, reliability, or potential application to such viewer of any matter discussed or portrayed in this video. Please do not act or refrain from acting in any way based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through this video. The views expressed during this video are those of the individual presenters only and not those of Choice Recovery Path LLC or any of its customers, suppliers, or affiliates. Any liability with respect to actions taken or not taken by any viewer based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through such video is hereby expressly disclaimed. All such information or content is expressly provided as is and free of any representation or